everybody, it's Mr. Tate, and this is our next episode of Thursdays with Mr. Tate. Notice today I'm coming to you from my kitchen, okay? So, we've been talking about the scientific method a lot. Tonight's my night to cook dinner. And so, I'm gonna cook spaghetti. And one thing that my grandma's always told me, and my mother's always told me, and my wife tells me, is that water boils faster if you add salt to it, okay? And I'm tired of people telling me this without them actually knowing whether or not it's true. So tonight, we're gonna test that out, okay? So what you're gonna need for this is iodized salt, a pot, tablespoon, and a large measuring cup. So, a couple of safety things. One, kids realize that you're gonna be dealing with fire, so ask an adult to help. Two, I'm wearing long sleeves. We wanna roll these sleeves up, okay, to make sure that they don't come anywhere near the heat source that we're gonna be using tonight. Three, notice I'm wearing an apron, okay? It's my wife's apron, yeah, it's multicolored, but it's there, okay? This is so that my clothes don't come in contact with the heat source. Step one of the scientific method is to have a question. Our question tonight is, will the water boil faster when salt is added to it? Okay? We're gonna do some research.
So we've done some research and we found out that the boiling point of water rises when you add salt to it. That was from the Southwest Research Institute. We also found from Bradley that a higher temperature is needed for salt water to boil. Finally, Levan said if you add a lot of salt to water, it will boil faster, but any food would not be edible.
Our hypothesis is an educated guess. And since so many people tell me that the water boils faster with salt, I'm gonna say if I add salt to the water, then the water will boil faster than if I didn't add the salt to the water. Okay, so that's our hypothesis. So, the next thing is our actual experiment. What we're gonna do tonight is we're going to get 6 cups of water into this pot, and we're going to add, the first one we're not gonna add any salt to it, okay? We're just gonna time it and let it boil. Then, once we have the time for the boiling, we're gonna dump it out, let the pot cool off, and then we're gonna make sure all the water's out of it. Then we're going to refill it with 6 cups of water, add a tablespoon of salt, put it on the exact same heat that we did before, and then time it to see whether or not our water is gonna boil faster with the salt added, okay? So, use my wand here, and I'm going to measure 4 cups of water. Notice, when you're using a liquid measuring cup, you need to get down to the side of it to make sure that you're measuring it accurately. Okay, so that is exactly 4 cups of water. Now, to get the 6, I'm gonna go ahead and add 2 more cups. Okay, there we have 6 cups of water. We're going to take our water and we're going to put it onto this burner. The reason I'm choosing this burner is because it's dual element. That means that our water will be able to be heated through the exact time. Now, I'm going to start this timer, okay? Okay, so we are about 5 seconds away from 5 minutes. And if you look into the pot, you can see that there are bubbles starting to form on the bottom. Okay? So we are starting to see some boiling going on. Okay, so you can see that we are now at about 6.5 minutes, and that water is starting to get to a boil. Now we're going to judge this by what's called a rolling boil. So you really want to see the bubbles come to the top, okay? And as soon as that happens, we're going to get the time. And you can see that those water molecules are really moving down to that bottom there. So we're hitting 7 minutes. And so it should be pretty soon that we have this data. All right, so we are at 8 minutes and 10 seconds. We now have a rolling boil. So we're going to call this 8 minutes and 10 seconds without salt. I have turned off the heat. I am now going to use pot holders, okay? Do not move this with your bare hands. You will get burned. In fact, kids, let your parents do this part, okay? So, I'm going to take my water very carefully, and I'm going to bring it to my sink. I'm going to dump it, okay? I'm showing you this because I want you to see that I'm going to use the exact same pot, okay? I'm now going to add some cold water to this just to kind of help it cool off quicker. Okay? So we're going to give that about 5 minutes to cool off. We'll check it then and see if we're ready for round 2. Really nice and cool. And it is. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take a clean towel, and I'm going to make sure that there is absolutely no water left in here. Okay? Because our independent variable tonight is the salt. That's the one thing we're changing. Okay? So we don't want to add or subtract from any of the water. So notice water completely gone. I'm using Morton salt tonight. You can use whatever salt you want, really. So I'm putting exactly 1 tablespoon. Now, when you use a measuring spoon, you need to make sure that you level it off. Okay? So I'm going to take my finger. I'm going to make sure I level that off. Okay? And that's exactly 1 tablespoon. Okay, so you can see that the tablespoon is in there. We're now going to over to the sink again. And we're going to remeasure our 6 cups of water. Notice I get right down at eye level so that I can make sure that I'm getting exactly the amount of water I need. Okay, we're going to add that in there. Then we're going to add 2 more cups. Okay. Now I'm going to come back to my... So we have our salt water on there, and we are going to start our timer. So so we're right about 5 minutes. And I'm noticing a significant amount less bubbles than we did before. But I'm noticing that even though there are less bubbles on the bottom, there are more rising to the top at a quicker rate. So we'll see what happens as we continue to go into the 6th and 7th minute. All right, so you can see that we are right about 6 minutes, coming up to 7 minutes. There's a lot more steam this time, but the bubbles still aren't rolling as well as it was at this time with the non-salt. So we're going to continue to film this and just watch to see as we get closer to that 7:15 of the last one as to what's going to exactly happen. We are now at 7:43 and it is boiling rapidly. The bubbles really started coming to the top, and now we have this nice rolling boil going like we did before.
So our final step in the scientific method is to review our data and check it against our hypothesis. So our data shows us that the water that boiled with no salt took 8 minutes and 10 seconds to boil, while the water that added the salt to it had 7 minutes and 43 seconds to boil. Therefore, our hypothesis was correct. But wait, most of the time, scientists do their experiments more than once just to make sure that there are no abnormalities or anything that might have skewed the data. So if we were to do this again, we would have to see what the data showed, and our research might play a bigger role in the next time that we choose to do this. As of this experiment with this sample, my wife, my mother-in-law, my mother, my grandmother, we're all right. Salt does help it to boil faster.